This wasn't initially going to be part of this Tea Party, but we as a committee felt like this probably needed to be brought more to attention. I think we can all agree that as a society we feel compelled to be better stewards to our environment and to our planet. And as a technologically advanced and innovative country, we have the capacity to develop efficient and productive alternative sources of energy. Unfortunately, our federal government is pursuing a poorly researched and ill-conceived initiative known as the Waxman-Markey Bill, also known as the American Clean Energy and Security Act, and also known as cap and trade. Now, I'd very briefly like to give some type of an idea of what exactly this means for us. And this is a very simplified version of it, trust me. Okay, first of all, what is it? Well, it's a tax, and it's a big tax. It's a tax on greenhouse gas emission levels with emphasis on CO2 and fossil fuels. That includes coal, oil, and natural gas. These make up over 90% of the energy that we use in this country. We as human beings emit CO2. Okay?
The trees love it.
Yeah, and we love the trees. The cap, and I'm going to read this. Each large-scale emitter or company will have a limit on the amount of greenhouse gas that it can emit. The firm must have an emission permit. For every ton of carbon dioxide it releases into the atmosphere. These permits set an enforceable limit or cap on the amount of greenhouse gas pollution that the company is allowed to emit. Over time, the limits become stricter, allowing less and less pollution until the ultimate reduction goal is met. The goal is to cut greenhouse gas emissions by 17% in 2020 and 83% in 2050. Essentially, this means the federal government will give companies a limit. It will tell them how much CO2 they can or can't emit. The trade. It will be relatively cheaper or easier for some companies to reduce their emissions below their required limit than others. These more efficient companies who emit less than their allowance can sell their extra permits to companies that are not able to make reductions as easily. Companies will be required to purchase the emission permits from the federal government, which in turn results in a sizable revenue stream to the federal government. So let's say we have Company A and we have Company B. Both have been told by the central planners of Washington that they're allowed to emit 10 tons of CO2, carbon dioxide. Company A emits only 5 tons. Company B emits 15 tons. Therefore, this allows Company A to trade or sell 5 tons of the carbon dioxide emissions to Company B. It's a trade system. A lot of money flows through this. This explanation in itself is very basic, but the problem is that nobody in Washington has determined what all the specific costs of this are going to be. There's been no detailed cost-benefit analysis on all the aspects of this bill. And to make matters worse, on Friday, June 26th at 3:09 a.m., a 300-page amendment to a 1,200-page bill was presented in the House of Representatives. Shortly after 7 p.m. of that same day, 211 Democrats and 8 Republicans voted to send this bill to the Senate without even reading it. They didn't read it and they passed it.
That's right.
That's right. They passed legislation that some project to be the largest tax hike in America, possibly in this world. And they sent it to the Senate and they didn't read it. I think we can all agree this is becoming a really disturbing pattern for this country. And it's bureaucratic irresponsibility. And it's an injustice to every single American family in this country. So what do we need to do about it? What do we need to do to stop this and other poorly devised policies from passing the House of Representatives, the Senate, and into law? First of all, we need to educate ourselves. We need to learn about these different programs and their potential effects on every single one of us. Second, we need to protest. These crowds need to get bigger. Bigger and louder. It's time to wake up your neighbors, your families, and your friends, and it's time to get them out here. And third of all, you need to call our senators before this gets passed. You need to call Senator Lamar Alexander, and you need to call Senator Bob Corker, and any other senator or White House official you feel compelled to, and urge them to defeat not only this bill, not just this bill, but any proposal that will impose a toxic and unreasonable tax on all the goods and services that support and define the American economy. Our next speaker is my husband, Kyle Moore.